The interesting thing, in the last 10 years, within the professional field of geology, geologists are resorting more and more to catastrophic explanations to explain how the Earth got to be the way it is, to explain why mountain ranges are there and why there are changes and why there are certain river basins and such. We now talk about how the glaciers once careened across the state of Washington to scour out the topography of lakes and scablands that we see in the central part of the state. We talk about periods of time when there were volcanic eruptions going around the Earth, the whole planet at once. All the volcanoes were spouting during the same period of time. We're talking about how meteors have periodically hit the Earth. The latest current theory is from Dr. Alvarez at UCLA, a Nobel Prize-winning physicist, who says that the Earth was hit by a meteor or an asteroid 65 million years ago. This more or less turned the lights out on the Earth. There was a big cloud of dust. We know that was so because we have the element iridium that only comes from outer space, found in all the geological layers around the Earth. And we think that this event was responsible for the extinction of the dinosaurs. That suddenly, the dinosaurs didn't slowly die out, but they suddenly, catastrophically died out. And there was a great event that took place. And the thing that is a little unnerving to me is that we're seeing that it's much more the rule now, and we're seeing more and more catastrophic events having to explain things. In our space shots, we've gone off to Mars. What were we greeted with? Earthquakes. Since then, we thought all the volcanoes on Mars were extinct. Turns out there are active volcanoes on Mars. We went by Saturn and we passed by its little satellite, its little moon, Io. There were 7 volcanic eruptions going off at once. So I think we, in professional geology, have woefully underplayed the role of catastrophic events. And as we're finding out about the realities of events, it makes the traditional views, the psychic views, the intuitive views that much more real, that much more possible.
Could a catastrophic event be already building in our own western United States in the form of a major earthquake? Scientists are studying new information, hoping to find the answer before it is too late.
We know that there's bulging going up and down in the Palmdale area of California. We know there have been swarms of earthquakes there. We know that San Diego has recently experienced earthquakes, and the fault lines that we thought stop along the coastline actually come on and go right through downtown San Diego.
The San Andreas Fault slashes across 700 miles of California. It creates a volatile earthquake zone stretching between San Diego and San Francisco.
Up in San Francisco, there's a great deal of change that has taken place within the last 2 years, and that the San Andreas Fault in that area is now changed the nature of its pressure. It's been under compression. That means the two parts of the fault have been pressing against each other, and it's been very hard to have an earthquake there while they're pressing against, because for an earthquake you need one chunk of rock to slide past another very quickly, and this gives you your tremendous energy release. But right now, they have noticed that the fault is actually in expansion. The two halves are coming apart, and that's going to make it much, much easier to have a big earthquake occur there.
Some scientists believe in the interconnection of geophysical events. Earthquake activity may release power from deep within the Earth, resulting in volcanic eruption.
We just had the eruption of Mount St. Helens, and we have always known that the Cascade Range is a very dangerous range. It's a very young mountain range. We've looked at St. Helens, which was really a pipsqueak of a volcanic eruption. There have been eruptions at Tambora that have been hundreds of times as large. And indeed, just 6,000 years ago, there was a Mount Mazama. Remember Mount Mazama? Well, it was where Crater Lake is now. And literally, the whole mountain blew up and threw ash as far east as into the plain states of Kansas and Nebraska.
Given the very real possibility of a catastrophic event, will we be given time to react to an approaching global disaster? Dr. Goodman believes there will be a series of events which serve as a warning sequence.
And it begins with a great deal of destruction to Japan. Earthquakes, the island of Japan being really ravaged over. And then activity in Italy, Vesuvius, the volcano, it erupting. And then the activity moving over across the ocean to the Caribbean. where Mount Pelee is, on the Isle of Martinique, and then the west coast of the United States, California, being hit, and then the burners of the earth, so to speak, being turned up to high gear. We'd see the California coastline start to be crumbling away and be pushed back inland. And we'd see even warning earthquakes in such areas that we don't normally think of earthquakes, such as St. Louis, New York City, increasingly harsh weather patterns, food shortages in the U.S., and then by 1990 to 2000 would be the really devastating period. And here we're talking about earthquakes that would be literally over 10 on the Richter scale, bigger than anything anybody imagined.
Beyond the advent of the geological changes and hazards already identified, could it be that the ultimate catastrophe will come from outside the Earth itself?